Man, I am ready to not leave my house for like a week after that long ass
Yo,
week.
you didn't even go anywhere. You were home the whole time.
What do you mean? I was out literally every day.
Every day.
Every day. Sunday to Sunday, man. Sunday to Sunday.
Grinding, bro. Late nights, pressing the flesh, making business happen. It's all awesome, bro.
I have to say though, you know, finally the crypto community came to our city and they loved it so much they're staying again.
Dude, never gonna leave, man. I just feels like Bitcoin Vegas is just gonna be like the spot, dude. It feels like it.
Yeah, I mean, that was something that I had known. I knew once they'd come, you're never gonna leave. I mean, what other city in the world can host? I think they sold 35,000 tickets.
Yeah.
So next year it could be
more.
more.
A lot more than 35,000 people there. A lot more, bro.
Yeah, you think about like in conferences, how many people show up to the conferences and don't have tickets, right? Yeah. That's probably 50% of it. Like I've gone to conferences and not had a ticket and just gone to all the satellite events the entire time.
And I don't know if anybody check your emails, because if you went to the conference, basically they gifted everybody free tickets. So check your emails, because yeah, the day after we got freebies, and I think pretty much everybody got freebies the day after, which is, I don't think they've done that before. So that's a good deal.
It's smart. Yeah, I signed up for mine already. I had always, you know, I'd said this before. I think we did a show about conferences in the past, and I always wondered why they didn't make like the events free, or like the kind of like the main area or like the boothing area free for most people, and then you just charge the whale pass people, and the conferences take a piece of the satellite events. And that was one thing I noticed that was unique to this conference and any of the other ones, is each venue hosted like 5 to 10 events. It was like they were all at the same like 5 or 6 places.
That's
nice. What was it? The Mike Tyson house?
Yeah.
Was one of the big ones. And gosh, I mean, I got invited. I mean, we went there obviously a couple times, but I got probably invited to like 5 different ones where they're like, yeah, we're at the Tyson house, right? Tyson house, bro. It's like, what? What's this that Tyson house?
That way, you know, so you don't have to just drive all around town, miss events. You just kind of like one event bleeds into the next one.
Yeah.
It's much better for organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Inscribing Vegas was a good event. There was also a few events there at the Luminarium. I think
Ninjas killed it. Yeah, that was fun.
think Arch had a entire Arch presentation or conference, which was the first day of the conference or the Wednesday. I don't know what happened there, but I saw people participating, man. It felt alive. One of my biggest takeaways is that maximalism is dead, dude. There is that. If you just look at all of the booths that were across the conference, it was all ordinals, you know, staking. There was a bunch of mining stuff, don't get me wrong, but the traditionalist, I think, is kind of out the window at this point. And they're all interested in these treasury companies. That was like probably the most talked about thing across all of the stages.
Easily. Yeah.
Was these treasury companies that are being created.
I mean, just to give some people perspective on like the last kind of couple of keynotes. So Saylor was second to last, and Ross Ulbricht was the last guy, right? So he's like the main
smart marketing,
guy, right? It's gonna be great, bro. You couldn't Saylor, like there's a huge space where they're doing the big talks, the Nakamoto stage. It's so packed, you literally can't get in there. It's, you know, standing room only, and it's bleeding out into the conference area. So people are watching on like the big screens and stuff, bro. And I was actually talking to our friend Morgan there. We're hanging out outside, and he's like, bro, all these guys are going to leave when Saylor's done. And I was like, no way. He's like, yes, dude, these guys are all going to leave. These aren't Bitcoiners. These are fucking stock investors. And I was like, no, I was like, literally bet. Let's bet. He's like, bet, game on, bro. He was so right, dude. Saylor ended, and it was like a fucking tidal wave. Like everybody left, dude. You could literally walk in and get seats again in preparation of Ross. It was eye-opening. That was the big eye-opening moment for me, was like, holy shit, basically just Wall Street's here, and people are here to hear. I mean, I don't even know, why would you go to hear Saylor? He's on CNBC every day, but these guys were fucking lined up to hear.
You know, that's how I feel about a lot of these speakers, is that we listen to them on Spaces all day, and it's kind of the same conversation, just regurgitated. Yeah. When I went to see JD Vance, I'm the only person I know that tried to see him, at least in our kind of close circle. I woke up early, 7 a.m. to try to get there. They opened up the doors at 5:30 in the morning, and apparently there was a ton of people there, which I was very surprised. I was like, people are going to get up at 5:30 in the morning to go stand in line for 4 hours.
You thought you were the only one, bro.
I showed up. I got there at 8, and there was, I kid you not, there was probably 50,000 people there. It was crazy, dude, how long the line was, and I still didn't even get in. I still didn't. I got shut out. I got shut out at the door, dude. I had to watch it from a TV right outside the venue.
To give people perspective on the volume of people here, like if you were in Bitcoin Nashville, and you know that main hallway would be kind of full with people, like the main hallway, bro, double that wide and then packed with people. That's what Vegas was, man. It was a different level of bodies, man. It was completely different. Way more people than Nashville. Way more people. It was
JD Vance during his speech said there was 108,000 attendees at the conference, but the official number said 35,000 tickets. So if that's just counting like the other people that are in town, I mean, it's also in May, which is like one of the largest months in Vegas, or one of the busiest.
Yeah.
But the conference was good. JD Vance's speech I thought was pretty good. I mean, it was like kind of like a techno accelerationist forward kind of conversation. Although at the end, it was kind of interesting how he said that AI was being co-opted by the left, and Bitcoinism is being co-opted by the right. And he said that the Bitcoiners should be involved in AI, so that, because he said that AI can be more powerful than Bitcoin is, and you don't want Bitcoin to be co-opted by, you know, the left's form of what AI is. So he encouraged Bitcoiners to get involved in AI.
Yep.
Which I thought was kind of inspiring and interesting. Which
considering there was one AI booth there, right? I mean,
there was none. It was crazy.
Wasn't there? What? There was the one guy.
There was one
guy, yeah.
IQ was called, and it wasn't even on Bitcoin. It was like on, I think, Base or something, or Frax or something. Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, no one's ever heard of, with a big giant booth, and it's like, where'd they get that money? Who are these guys? Yeah.
AI is naturally just built by the left. It's built by big tech. Bitcoin was naturally like a libertarian technology, so it was naturally built and consumed by more like right-leaning elitists. But yeah, there's definitely no crossover. There's no crossover at that conference between AI and Bitcoin, which I think was one of the biggest takeaways from me.
Certainly
You have the two largest kind of societal shifts going on in the last century happening right before our eyes, and there's almost no crossover except for Agent Hustle. So
yeah.
happy for Hustle.
And to layer on, I mean, obviously Ross got a lot of shit for his like open stance to other cryptos and blockchains and stuff. Got shit on by a handful of maxis, but you know, that message I think was awesome. I was really glad I was there to listen to that. If you haven't checked out his full like speech, you should definitely do it. I think that's the vision. And you know, obviously the maxis are like, he hasn't had the last decade to learn about scams. It's like, oh God, man.
Bro. Here's another crossover probably is you know, Ross and Saylor. And Ross is probably would be my guess would be he would raise for a Bitcoin treasury company. It seems like that's like the fit. That's kind of like what has all the momentum. That guy would raise $1 billion instantly. And I think that that's kind of like the easy, he would be the, you know, maybe one of the best keepers of a business like that. You see Jack Mahlers, you see all these kind of younger guys kind of in the mix with companies like that. And if I had to place a bet, I would say Ross is going to raise for a Bitcoin treasury company.
Be amazing.
Yeah, it was by far probably the most talked about thing was these treasury companies. I didn't realize like how large they'd gotten. Obviously, a Jack Mahler's thing, and then I didn't know David Bailey. I think he announced one like a few days before the conference started.
Mhm.
And then there was kind of a handful of others. Obviously, now you have like Solana treasury companies that are starting, and then the Ethereum one as well. I think it's called the SBET. I wouldn't be surprised. I was listening to a few shows if you get Doge and some of these other ones, although that's probably when the whole thing starts imploding, right? Because the treasury companies are just kind of leverage. It's just leverage Bitcoin with a call option at the end, from what I hear. But once it starts going the other way, then that's when it all comes kind of crashing down.
I don't know if you saw too on the timeline started popping up. You know, now they're allowing you to take you know, money out of your house and use that for leveraged Bitcoin. I was like, wow, man, it is really, it's game on, bro. They're going after the oldie goldies, you know, suck out your equity in your home and invest it in Bitcoin, bro. It is game on now, man.
You know, outside of like the treasury stuff, I wasn't really impressed by any of the announcements. I didn't see anything that really stood out to me. I did see the Block Inc., which is Jack Dorsey's company. They came out with their Lightning payments, where it's for any merchant or any individual can now accept Bitcoin payments through their own Lightning channels. How much can that hold? I have no idea. But I thought that was kind of interesting. And then I watched Arthur Hayes, and it was just about how Bitcoin's going to $1 million. I felt like that's what all the conversations were, is how the administration can't stop the excess of I guess printing and inflation, and so therefore Bitcoin's going to go to $1 bajillion. So it was like literally every speech that I saw so far.
I mean, I get it, you know, and yeah, it seems pretty clear that government can't stop spending, even if you really, really want to, and even if your president kind of has a mandate, they still can't stop it, which says a lot. I mean, we kind of already knew that. But anybody who wants Bitcoin at $1 million is fucking insane, bro. Because if Bitcoin hits $1 million, the US is in fucking shambles, and everybody who lives there is fucked. So I don't know. I'm not bullish that doesn't fit right for me. Like, I'd rather have Bitcoin stuck at 100K forever, which means the US got its house in order. So I don't know. That's my view.
I never had that take. I always think like it's a better technology than a lot of the ones that are currently available. And so, of course, like people are naturally going to opt to have like a better money. And like, is the US's debt in a good place? It's not, maybe it's not in a great place, but can they sell off some assets and raise $5 trillion and pay down 10% of their debt overnight? Sure, if they wanted to. Yeah, no problem. And if we increase GDP by another 5%, can we make those debt payments? And then that would release our interest, that would reduce our interest expense. So, I mean, there's like a lot of different ways that we can kind of fix this puzzle going forward. And Bitcoin's just like a better technology than exists. So of course it's going to continue to proliferate throughout society, and the world's a gigantic place. Maybe it has like 10% global penetration today. If it gets to 30, I mean, that definitely is like $1 million. But yeah, I had like a mid tweet last night, just like Saylor or Satoshi created censorship resistant non-sovereign money so that Saylor could parlay his accounting business into the world's most valuable empire. And that's kind of like where we're at. Like no one at the conference had any ideals. There was like no talk of like libertarianism or non-sovereign digital money or.
There wasn't the Litecoin conference, the Litecoin summit. There were those discussions, but
that's right.
Bitcoin
I mean, just at like the Bitcoin conference, and I joked when I was with you guys, I was like, "What's everyone doing here?" I mean, we've seen the industry grow. I've been a Bitcoiner since long before it was cool to be a Bitcoiner, an actual Bitcoiner, And I was just kind of like, most of these people don't even own a fraction of a Bitcoin. Like, what They don't invest in Bitcoin businesses. They don't use Bitcoin applications. What are they really all doing here? And it's still kind of shocking to me that many people showed up.
They're there for the greatest technology of all, which is number go up technology, man. They are,
but they don't even participate in it. That's the joke. They don't own any Bitcoin, so it's just
they just want to be able to buy it in their 401k, man. That's the key, man. They want to be able to buy it in their 401k and talk about how awesome it's all going to be. They love that shit, man.
I don't know.
So when you walked around the conference, you had the Bitcoin puppet thing that was there first. Immediately, excuse me, to the right, you had the giant gallery, which I thought was interesting. This to me is like this art gallery that was, I guess, run by Scarcity, because you could bid on all of the different pieces of artwork, and it was all run through Scarcity. I think they do like the Lightning Network. I think they use like a variety of different Bitcoin payment rails to get this done. Like the fact that was just literally the first thing that you walk in was just telling me that like Bitcoin maximalism's dead. Yeah. But it was cool to see like a bunch of the Pepe artists were there. Obviously you had a bunch of the ordinal artists that were participating. Skrilla was there. Literally first thing you see is him drawing with markers on his little board, and the Scarcity guys. And I think Pepe Nardo's thing sold for 1 Bitcoin. And there was a few things that sold for higher. I forget. I know Ross's ID from Penitentiary sold for over 1 Bitcoin. And I don't remember what the other ones were.
Over $1 million. It was over $1 million.
Oh, was it over $1 million?
Yeah, it was like 11 Bitcoin or something like
That's
that.
What it was.
And yeah, there were a couple pieces that sold for much more. And Crypto Graffiti was there. Byron Micon was there. They were doing the live auction the last day. I know they were there for like 6 hours. They were a little bit exhausted. But to your point, definitely, because like the last in Nashville, the art was kind of in the back, right? But that was good because that's actually like the first time they've had the art. So that was kind of a win. And this time it was right at the front, which is just another win. Just kind of supporting old ordinals and art on Bitcoin and stuff, I think was a huge thing. Obviously for our side, this is like winning for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's always good. I mean, that's the best part of the whole thing, because we're friends with all those guys and stuff. So that was awesome.
Well, the Inscribing Vegas event was awesome, which was Tuesday. I saw the tickets worked. I guess the general tickets, you only are allowed to go to days 2 and 3, and the first day is for the whale pass holders. And actually, when Adam and I were driving to Inscribing Vegas, we got stopped for the motorcade of all the politicians who were speaking on the first day, which was like, I know Michael Saylor was there. I think Cynthia Loomis, Vivek Ramaswamy, tons of politicians coming on board. I think that's only going to continue to grow as Bitcoin becomes more important and more entrenched into society, I guess, in the financial kind of instrument. But with Inscribing Vegas, I thought they did a really good job. Who's it thrown by? It's like Aaron, right?
Yeah, Casey.
Aaron does it. They did a really good job.
I don't think Casey's involved, as far as I know. I don't know. He might be. I don't know.
No, he was there playing bagpipes, doing Casey things. But you got to go and see. We got to connect with a lot of different builders who were there in the ordinal ecosystem. I have to say, from just my personal point of view, we had probably 6 or 7 different protocols come up to us and ask to be integrated into Agent Hustle, which is pretty cool. It seems like the ordinal community much more focused on or interested in the AI element rather than the actual conference itself, which had literally 1 AI booth, which wasn't even a Bitcoin AI product. It was some sort of launch pad. So that was cool. Right, Butoshi, I think, was there doing a presentation. It was pretty cool how it all set up. Ordinal ecosystem, man. I have to say, people keep saying runes are dead, but that whole conference was just nothing but excitement and all of the people building for runes. I put a post out yesterday about the competition that's being created right now, which you'll definitely see come online over the next few months over the buying experience of runes, right? You have excuse me, you have Magic Eden, who acquired Slingshot and is building on Spark to do some sort of probably, buy runes with any token kind of experience. You have Dot Swap that came out. It's actually kind of crazy. Dot Swap's doing 60 to 70% of the volume that Magic Eden's doing. No one ever talks about it. You have ICP, and Bob was there. You have Arch that's launching with Saturn. And then you had Track that's doing their Hypermall experience. And I learned there's actually a few other big teams who are building runes dexes in the backgrounds or Bitcoin fungible tokens kind of in the background. I don't know. To me, I did not get that feeling at all. I mean, I guess maybe everyone's just kind of basing their opinion off of Udi's troll posts. But to me, man, I don't know.
I didn't see Udi there. Was Udi there? I didn't even see him. I didn't see him once in Vegas, but I didn't see him there. Yeah.
So the excitement was live. People love runes. People love ordinals. I think runes still takes the show the latter half of the year for the ecosystem.
I mean, it's tough to say, but certainly there are enough people building in that ecosystem that something could pop. I mean, that could be it. I mean, do I think runes are gonna, pop on their own without something kind of layered on top? Probably not. But they're there. The tech is there. Wallets are there. Infrastructure's there. It just takes not just and it's very difficult, but it takes somebody creative to do something creative with it. And at least that's possible on Bitcoin now, right? Rather than talking about, I don't know, counterparty or something. God help me. I went down, after we talked a little bit about it, I went down the rabbit hole of looking in those telegrams. Oof. Oh my God, bro. Oof, it's right, bro. Oof, it's right. And I think in a lot of ways, ordinals and runes is not like that. I mean, yeah, they're bummed about pricing, price go down, but they're not bummed about there's not a split in those communities about no ordinals. This is the right ordinals or this is the right ordinal. There's none of that, right? It's just a matter of, can we attract new people into this ecosystem?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, leave it to Bitcoiners to just not only hate everyone except for Bitcoiners, but also become tribal.
Tear themselves into
Bitcoin
pieces.
itself. Man, they cause rifts amongst themselves.
It's crazy.
Not only laser eyes versus just traditional regular Bitcoiners, but then Bitcoiners versus ordinals and Bitcoiners versus runes. It's we talk about fracturing the only people in the world that care about a segment of the things that you do, which is hilarious. But I think that it's such a ridiculous take. I mean, I think runes and ordinals at this point embody the true, the closest thing to a true Bitcoiner ethos at this point than anything else. And even almost Bitcoin itself, the conversations around Bitcoin are how are governments going to adopt it? And what is the next corporate company that's going to put it on its balance sheet? And at least we have decentralized peer-to-peer memes that we can trade on Bitcoin pretty consistently, and have high-level non-sovereign digital art that we can trade back and forth. And so for Bitcoiners to just have these strange, obscure takes on how they're just not going to exist when there's real communities of people trying to build that frontier is
just
so weird to me. I think that's the only way that I can describe it. But I think that
there was to that point, the dog group got together and had a booth and stuff, and that was pretty cool seeing the dog community there, to that point of a fair launch and stuff. And so, they were there pretty strong. I mean, I heard people oh, it's weak, I'm like, what are you talking about? This
every time I walked by the dog booth, it was literally there's literally gigantic.
I mean, you look at you talked about inscribing Vegas. That was the most excitement out of any of the events by far. 100%. And then you go to the conference, the biggest booths are Liquidium, Xverse, the dog booth, the Pepe guys. It's all stuff happening within the on-chain Bitcoin economy. And none of it is about peer-to-peer digital cash. None of it is about non-sovereign digital money. And so sure. I don't know, I think the Bitcoiners need to check themselves on what's actually happening and what they think is actually happening. So I think it's a huge disconnect there.
Yeah, the dog booth was definitely packed every time I had walked by it. One of the actual announcements that happened during the conference, which I thought was actually super interesting, was the Dot Swap announcement, where they built some sort of non-custodial DEX for runes, but also the Starkware announcement where you can actually bridge USDC as a rune, which I thought was kind of impossible to do. It seems like they figured that out. So now you can bring stable coins to runes for whoever is kind of the winning DEX experience. And I saw a bunch of people bashing it, which I don't understand why. I don't know why you wouldn't just want to import it. Although I do think Tether is probably going to come in and take over at some point in time since they're kind of expanding. I think they also announced their like L2 or whatever during Bitcoin, or whatever the hell the form is of it. But yeah, it was, hold on, I have to ban something. Yeah, dude, it was really exciting. I saw that. So at Inscribing Vegas, there was a bunch of booths for different types of L2s and different types of proof of work chains that I'd never even heard of. It's still, I guess, are kind of out there. And the excitement was wide and live. And yeah, it was just kind of all really good time. And moving over to kind of the conference, some of the side parties that we went to, I think the best event was the Trio House Party, which was thrown by Ordinal's Bot at the Mike Tyson party. There was a ton of people there. I actually me and Budsy met up with Bruff and their team on Saturday as everyone was leaving. And they said that the capacity there was like 900 people. They had to like close the doors off. I was like, I don't know, I was kind of inside, but that was a fun one. They even had a fake Mike Tyson there, which was pretty cool. Apparently, like an old school Bitcoiner owns that house. That's why everyone was throwing events there. Yeah, I forget what the guy's name was.
Dope.
They're gonna do it again next year, I guess.
I gotta say, Chris, you were saying that house was only like $5 million. That seems like a pretty decent investment, bro. When you can charge $100K for 2 nights or something. I mean, it seems like Airbnb in that house out is a pretty good, might be a decent investment, bro. You guys maybe get a little money together. We do a little token drop. Buy that house.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a SPAC. We'll do a token drop. We'll launch a.
You were like, this house is so old, needs so much work. I was like, bro,
it's like a classic Vegas street though. Like Wade Newton lives right over there. Michael Jackson used to have a house on that exact street. Tomiyasu, that was Mike Tyson's house. So it's like all like old school Vegas figures, and a lot of those houses, it's they're all like Airbnbs, and people rent them all out for special events.
I'd say Chris and I did go to a Clean Spark event. So Clean Spark, this is more on the less the degen side, right? Clean Spark's a publicly traded Bitcoin renewable mining company, which is actually headquartered out here in Las Vegas. It was at, what was that bar? Do you remember?
Madera, inside of Aria.
It was nice. That was the first time where I was like with a bunch of people, just surrounded by suits the whole time.
Yeah,
and it was cool. The energy there is also lively.
I don't know if there was a Bitcoiner at that party. You know, it just saw like corporate guys that even like a couple of our friends. I was like, do you like Bitcoin? Like at the party, they were like, well, no, we just like work for the company, and that's like enough exposure for us. And this is like, yeah, I mean that's how most people think, right? They go to work. So
yeah,
a lot of these companies, we wish that they were run by Bitcoiners, but they're just not. That's what I'm saying. Like when we think of like Bitcoiner, like that like image of a Bitcoiner, it's not meshing with the real world. It's like such a few small group of us that exist in the world, and so for them to be infighting about who has the ideals, like those ideals aren't carrying over into the real world. Our only chance at pushing those forward is having these communities within something like Runes and Ordinals and continuing with that bottom up approach, because everything else is really getting taken over by corporates and governments, which it was always inevitable, but I mean, it's more obvious than it's ever been today.
Oh, totally. Yep.
Yeah. So are you guys going to go next year?
Yeah, it's going to be in Vegas.
Yeah, I don't know you going. That was your first trip to Vegas, right?
Yeah, but first time in Vegas. I felt it, you know, nothing, not to shit on your guys' hometown, right? But it's expensive. It's not my kind of place, you know. It's like, it reminds me of like I've been on a cruise ship before. It reminds me of just like being on a cruise ship, but a million times bigger, bro. It's crazy. I was talking to you guys. I was joking about it because it's literally. I mean, you hear about these things like, oh, the casinos, you know, there are no straight lines in a casino because they want to like lock you in. Bro, it's real. I got lost in a casino. I couldn't get out. There's no exits, bro. It's literally insane. It's like you go in these loops and you're like, wait a minute, I saw that waterfall before. And you realize you've just been played, bro. They're just like walking you around in like this endless loop of, of shit. It's crazy, man. So yeah, that's definitely not my kind of thing. I was not expecting it to be so expensive. That was bonkers too. Like,
Well, you're in the tourist trap. We didn't get a chance to take Adam into like the real part of
bro,
Vegas. So he stayed right where every tourist is.
Put
We
it
did
this
take
way.
him to Cleaver, which is the
Yeah.
local
Yeah,
spot.
that was
little
awesome.
steakhouse.
That's the one thing. The food was sick, dude. The food was definitely awesome. But like you buy the Starbucks in the hotel or wherever you are, dude, it's more expensive. This is not a lie. It's more expensive buying it at your hotel than at the airport. Like we went to, left that in the morning we leave and I'm at the Starbucks. Bro, I spent much less at the Starbucks in the airport than at the hotel. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, the corporate greed on the strip has gotten
Bro.
insane. I told you that they do surge pricing in the gift shops now.
Bonkers.
That's why you go in the gift shop. There's no there's no pricing. If you
Really?
want to go get a water, if you want to go get a water at 1 a.m, apparently it's more expensive than at like 2 p.m, which is crazy, right? That's the greed of it all.
There's a whole city behind it, Adam. We'll have to show you around.
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
I get it. I get it. It's all good, man. It is what it is. I mean, it is what it is. And I actually think in a lot of ways, it's like before, crypto and this ability to gamble just from the comfort of your house, like there was a significant need for this. I just think there's a lot less need now. I mean, people have the access to degen lifestyle literally 24/7. I just don't, I mean, I get being there in person, but
How are these crypto virgins supposed to get laid?
Well, maybe.
There was no getting laid to this conference, bro.
I totally missed that part of the conference, bro.
I saw like 3 girls the entire time that I was there.
They definitely had some atmosphere models there for sure.
Also, to Adam's point, though, like, I mean, I think that's the separation that's happening is we're seeing it like locally. All of these kind of like mid-tier and lower hotels and casinos are just like completely empty, and they're just reducing costs, they're reducing expenses, they're closing, spas, concierges, everything. They're just downsizing everything. But like the premium luxury tier is like up only, and so it's like totally a power law where like no one wants to go lose money at a mid-ass casino. They could just do that online. But if you want like the premium luxury experience, like that's never been more desirable than it is today.
Interesting, yeah.
That is actually a pretty good point. So there was actually a handful of conversations I had with some people who was talking about living in Vegas, and they were like, what would it take to buy a casino and turn it into like a crypto casino? I kid you not, I had that conversation twice with two different teams. Two different teams. They thought it was just like you could throw $1 billion at a casino and it'd be yours. It's like, no, there's all kinds
board is the single most powerful governing body of anywhere in the United States. Yeah. They have the single most like consolidated power. And it's all run by casino operators who have endless amounts of money and investors. So for you to get a new license, good luck with that, man. It's just not
you got to be in the in group, I guess.
Facts.
Adam, tell us about the Litecoin conference. I went the second day, which was at Harrah's, so it's next door to Venetian. Yep. I missed the first day, although I feel like the conversations there were a little bit more genuine. People were much more talking about kind of cypherpunk ideals, Mimblewimble, privacy, mining, but there was just no one there.
Yeah, it was light. I mean, it was definitely lighter. That was the kind of weird thing for me. Is it was lighter attended than in Nashville. Like, I don't know if that's just because Nashville's an easier place to get to or whatever, but it definitely felt like, I mean, I might be wrong because maybe it was a different size venue or whatever, but it just didn't feel as well attended as Nashville. That said, the convo is, I do think it's more kind of to Bitcoin ethos, much more than the actual Bitcoin event. So it's all about privacy wallets, just how to integrate kind of crypto native P2P ideals, I think is the convo. There's definitely some convo about like bringing L2s onto Litecoin and stuff. For me, that doesn't really click because why?
No one's using the chain anyways.
Yeah, if nobody's really using the chain anyway. I've talked and we've had whatever Truth Coin on this show. He's still trying to push his stuff on Litecoin. And so that conversation happened as well. But I just don't, I'm not really sure. But I do think that, Litecoin, to their credit, the guys, in the foundation and the general like social media and stuff have made this like open space where other chains, not just Litecoin, can coexist with Litecoin. So, obviously Bell's Coin, I was there, Luke was there, a bunch of people around Bell's Coin were there. We gave out a bunch of merch. I think, what was it, Pepe Coin, which is also a proof of work chain, also script. They were there. It's just this kind of more open. Obviously, Doge guys were there. So there's like a more open conversation about the future of money. And obviously, these are just meme coins and stuff, but Litecoin's just the place where these conversations are now happening. And so, but you see, to Chris's point, there just aren't many of us, right? I mean, it's like, how many people want to talk about P2P digital cash? It's like, I mean, what is it? There might be 1,000 people on earth who are seriously interested in that, but I think those 1,000 people are important. And, so I give Litecoin credit for kind of, providing a space to continue to have that discussion, which is super important. And, we talked about, obviously Ross, but then, about the samurai guys who are still getting, still in jail and stuff. So those sort of conversations happened there. And, it was good seeing Charlie. Saw David Chom there. If you don't know who David Chom is, guy basically fucking invented this whole space. And you can just go up and shake his hand. Like, it's fucking amazing. Like, that's what I love about those small conferences. You can go up, say hi to Charlie, And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of the Litecoin guys and what they're doing over there.
Yeah, it felt like a lot more camaraderie with Bell's Coin being there, Pepe Network. There was like a few of the other proof of work chains. And Luke was hosting his history of Bitcoin mining booth.
Yeah.
Which I would say is probably the most attended one. People loved the history. They had Litecoin miners going back to 2014.
Yeah, it's very cool. He's basically modeled. There's a guy who does it for Bitcoin. And it's kind of like the Bitcoin mining museum, that guy calls it. And that guy, I guess, travels around and sets up all over the place. And Luke is like leading the charge there for Litecoin. And it's awesome to see, man. He's a good.
It reminds me of like in Vegas, we have something called the Mob Museum. And it's like all like historical documents from the mob days. It's like this huge shit. One of like the biggest attractions. And I could see like the Bitcoin mining museum being something very similar to something like that.
That'd be cool. And then Adam and I, after Litecoin conference second day, we went over to, there's a new Bitcoin bar opening up in Vegas. It's called like Billy's Bitcoin. What was it? Billy's Bitcoin bar or something like that? Adam, do you remember the shitcoin conference thing we went to?
Oh, yeah, man. That place. Yeah. I don't know. You gave it. Well, you said they said they're going to charge like a membership fee. And you were like, that's dead in the water, bro. Nobody charges membership.
It's in the arts district. It opens in like 2 or 3 weeks. It's on Industrial in Wyoming. So it's kind of like in the back of the arts district. And yeah, he said he wanted to do a membership. It's anytime people do these crypto membership things, they never work. They tried to do it in Vegas with the NFT gallery, Journey Crypto's NFT gallery. This guy raised like, what was it, like $30 million during the NFT run to build a clubhouse.
Yep.
And when he first opened it, it was, you had to have the Journey Pass to get in. No one went. Then it was, if you have the Journey Pass or apes or whatever things that he had on display, you could go. No one went. And then they moved to, it was $10 to get in. No one went. Now it's just free, and no one still goes.
Still no one goes.
Still no one goes, right?
They should just, they should key or something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, Bitcoiners, we're not known for being like our people. You know what I mean? Like the industry is not known for being like the most personable, friendly, conversationalist of a type of industry. So just having exclusive bars for just only those type of people, I don't know if a lot of people are interested in that.
Well, that place is run by a guy named Ken Bozak, and I met Ken.
Yeah,
you know him as well. Yeah, so I met him in like 2020, like actually the very first conference I ever went to in Miami.
He's been at every single one ever. He's never missed a conference.
And he's done, he actually started, I think it's called the Shitcoin Conference, right? Mm-hmm. And so this, in theory, what we were going to was the Shitcoin Conference, but
yeah, we were with Max Infeld, who I guess is like, he's the Kira card artist, who's like a big fan of him, I guess.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. Ken's career has taken a weird little turn there. He's a nice guy. Like, I like him personally. And I've been on his show a few times, but I don't know. It is what it is, man. I don't know.
They're turning it into a theater. There was like some cool Bitcoin kind of clothes. They had one called like Bitcoin Siaga. It's like Balenciaga and stuff. And Yeah, he said that he wanted to do 2-tier memberships. It was like either $50 for the regular membership or $500 for the pro membership. And I was just like, no one's gonna pay this. Like I've never seen that work in any city I've ever went to for a paid, clubhouse or paid
And what
bar.
are they going to do? You're going to sit there on couches? Like you're paying to like hang out in a room? Like there's nothing there.
It only works again at like the premium luxury tier. Like there's like Zero Bond. There's a bunch of like here in Vegas. There's some in New York. They're like President Trump is opening one in DC called the Executive Branch, I think, or Executive Club. It's like only when you want to go like mingle with other people that are kind of on your level or maybe a little bit above, but not just like normal regular people. Like
I mean, if anything, you could make it like, hey, it's the shitcoin hangout, and come here. We trade shitcoins every day. Like let's go make runners every day. Like that's actually kind of cool. Like I pay $50 a month to go do that.
Like an internet cafe used to be. Like go play Counter-Strike, but go
like have coffee or drinks or whatever, and like let's trade meme coins together. That'd be fun. But just to be like, I don't even know what it is, right? It's like they're selling clothes.
There's like a bar attached to it.
There's a bar that you cannot go to. You had to get I don't know, man. Hey, man, business is hard any way you cut it, but seems like they have an uphill battle there for sure. I don't know.
Well, it should be in action next year around for the BTC Vegas conference. And now I ask, like, what conferences are left to go to at this point in time?
No more, bro. I'm done, bro. I'm done.
Done for the year?
I mean, what else is there?
There's NFTNYC, which I feel like is kind of lost some of its it's lost kind of some of its I guess kind of highlight.
Yeah.
Maybe because NFTs are dead. There's some of these other smaller ones, like I know Empire is like creating their own. You have which is the one down in Texas that happens all the time.
Consensus. We had consensus. In
oh, that happened already?
Yeah, that already happened. So, I mean, Consensus just had their other one in, I guess they do multiples a year. They had the other one in like Toronto or whatever, or Canada somewhere. But like NFT NYC, I've never been a huge fan of NFT NYC. I just don't think the side events aren't nearly as good in my view. I don't know. I mean, we could do it. Do we want to do it? I don't know.
Not really. For me, it's like I generally do like 2 conferences a year. After that, it's kind of like the same people going to the same events, spending the same money, talking about the same things. It gets kind of overplayed after a while. Also, just like we sit here on Spaces all day too. You hear the same people all day.
Yeah, it's like the Lisbon one actually was more cool. They have the Pepe guys over there and stuff. Like that seemed like kind of more interesting. Like that, but that one's happening like, I mean, Jesus Christ, they set it up a week after Bitcoin Vegas. It's like, wow, it's crazy timing, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's happening like right now. Like I saw people posting.
I don't know. All in all, Bitcoin Vegas, like fire conference, crazy to see how far we've come. I mean, me and Jake live in Vegas. We've been to all the biggest conferences out here. These are the biggest conferences in the world, so they rival, literally the biggest conferences in the world are held here in Vegas. We're the only cities that can support hundreds of thousands of attendees through hotels. Bitcoin was up there with like, I mean, it's mainstream as mainstream can get. I mean, there's no one that doesn't know about Bitcoin at this point in time that's never really heard about it. So it's pretty apparent when we're there. It's definitely cool to see that we've literally memed a new kind of world reserve currency from the depths of the internet into this, mainstream glory, even if maybe some of the principles have been lost along the way. I think that was probably always inevitable. But then, just again, like, just talking about like the tech, these are all technology companies, different technologies on the internet, huge kind of just mashups of existing technologies that have grown into the technologies that they are today. And so like, this isn't their final form. And I think that's important to realize when having like the runes argument or the ordinals argument or anything like this, is that these softwares and these technologies will be upgraded and change over time, even if it's marginally. And so it's, I don't know, we lost that kind of ethos of experimenting and having that vision of like what can be in the future. And it feels like people are just stuck on like, oh, this is how everything is going to be forever. And I think that, when we are early visionaries or early adopters in this technology, you had no choice. You had to see it for what it could be. Sure. And then I feel like that kind of got lost along the way. But I think that we've come a long way, but we've still got a little bit further to go.
Is it because the proliferation of the attention markets is just completely drowned everyone out?
Yeah,
it's like the only thing you ever see anymore.
I think they
Yeah.
just lost all their money, so they're just like
Yeah.
cynical about it. I think that's like my number one gut feeling is that most people got washed out.
Well,
That
what was the
generally
take
does
we
tend
were
to
we were
happen.
just we were talking briefly before the show about whichever one was like literally completely dominated the timeline,
Are
whatever.
you talking about Laudio?
Yeah, Laudio 60-70%, mind share on crypto Twitter, and literally just a straight race to zero. And it's just, I mean, you said, well, the devs might change up the, tokenomics or whatever, but it's like people, it's like I heard somebody say it's like a fully solved game, so we understand the meme coin game, which is like you bundle a bunch at the front, you sell it all, and people are they're not falling for it, right? They're just like, who's going to buy the Laudio bags? There's no buyers for that because they recognize that they're just getting dumped on. So there are no buyers, and it's an immediate 2-day race to zero for literally the biggest project over the last 2 months. And, so at the end of the day, if that's run its course, kind of what's next. And I think some people are starting to lean into this idea. I mean, obviously, like the thing that Yaps has done and stuff is like to pay people for their tweets and their content. We can all kind of get behind that. But just when it's all AI generated slop and nobody's actually using the tools, what's the point of it? And so I'm looking forward to something here. Hopefully we can help create something, but just moving into something that's a little bit more real, a little bit more solid, like real projects, real. And I put it out the other day. It's like we have to just maybe create something where real projects, real revenue get returned to token holders, something that's simple. And yes, you can then value it because you know exactly how much they're making and how much is going back to token holders. But it feels like we need something like that we can believe in again, just to get out of this kind of meme coins, cycle of death, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what NFTFi showed is that mindshare does not equal influence is like the biggest thing. That's what it was supposed to measure. It does not seem like that actually kind of is the case. And maybe their kind of rating system or AI in the back is kind of messed up because some people are getting rewarded for things that they didn't even talk about. But I mean, look at I would say the most influential people in Bitcoin or in crypto are generally Bitcoiners, and they're not participating in the shit at all. They don't care, right? And
it certainly doesn't measure value in any way. I mean, like I see one, and we've talked about it multiple times now. This one, Newton, where dude, it's like, I mean, the guy,
not about the AI one.
Yeah, the AI one called Newton, and the leader or the head dev of Cato put out a tweet the other day mentioning it specifically. And I'm like, bro, and they're like, oh my God, 36,000, new stakers in fucking Newton. And it's like, bro, go use the fucking thing, bro. There's literally nothing there. They have a DCA product for fucking Ethereum and wrapped Bitcoin. Get the fuck out of here, dude. That's your product that you supposedly have 500,000 users on. Get the fuck out of here. It's nothing. It's a token dump scam. And I just, so that mind share bullshit, it has no value, bro.
Did you come up with the Revenomics? Is that what you said was yesterday?
Yeah, I was trying to come up with a new.
Well, you're starting to see now like token buybacks are starting to become a little bit more popular again, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's some people in the Agent Hustle chat were talking about this as well, right? Because we're talking about creating subscriptions for Hustle for the retail side and for the developer side, which other AI projects are doing. And it's like if you have people who are buying, right, to use the product, then obviously some of that generally flows back to the holders, which shows that there's actual real demand. It's this like token versus product debate, which never ends. And I think we had a few of these conversations at Bitcoin Vegas with some of the builders as well of when you first launch a product, are you highlighting or focusing on the token, or are you highlighting and focusing on the product itself? Because most people generally focus on the token, and very rarely are those teams able to basically revert to or convert from being a token-based project to a product-based project, because most of those people, they're in there for the token and then they sell and they leave, and the remainder of people are generally down bad because they held on. And you always have this confliction. We've gone through this with Agent Hustle and with Emblem to a larger scale, where you have your token holders who don't use the product, right? And then the product users who don't hold the token. And it's like, how do you create this kind of like, synchronous relationship? And the majority of projects just start with being a token project, maybe even being unaware of it. And it's really hard to escape that after that. And it's just time and time again. We were talking about this a lot with the Bitcoin builders as well. It's generally you want to start with no token. Like that's like the dream.
Totally.
Most products don't need a token kind of at all.
Totally. So we'll see how it goes, man. But I mean, look, certain groups are in perfect position. I mean, I wish like Pump Fund would drop a token, because I think if they did a rev share with a token, it could be hyper successful. But even that, it's like, why? If I was, the CEO of Pump Fund, no way I would do a token, right? Because at the same time, you realize you're setting up yourselves up for nothing but, you're basically working for these people forever, right? But the reality is that is what feels like is needed here, where we need crypto is now kind of in this legal kind of gray area where you can actually do it. You can return value to token holders now. It just needs somebody to kind of lean in and really do this in a successful way.
How come there was never a successful launch pad on Bitcoin that lasted? Why is that? I don't know. I think about it. Obviously, you have Odin Fund, but it's kind of faded a little bit as well. All right, new tokens just seems to be.
Yeah, I think people are done with, like I said, memes are like this solved game, and you can do it, but why would you do it on Slow or whatever Bitcoin? There just aren't enough. Most of the liquidity is on Solana, so that's where it's just successful, right?
AI on Bitcoin, man. That's the key product. I'm telling you, it brings like automation to Bitcoin. Right? It doesn't have to be slow anymore, or at least you can kind of go AFK and have it just kind of automate all of the stuff within itself. Big opportunity. I do think JD Vance saying that at the end. I do think you're going to see a wave of Bitcoin AI companies over the next year or so get funded. I think specifically because he said that there were so many people there. It's crazy, literally. So focused. Felt very patriotic hearing him speak.
It's kind of crazy cool. that needs to be said. The two biggest seismic shifts in society colliding as one. Oh, someone should build in that direction. Okay, all right. It sounds like a good idea.
It is crazy, dude. I put out a tweet the other day where I on TikTok I found this video of like this woman interviewing Bill Gates, and the woman is literally like, "Why would anybody not just read books? Like, how could the internet be better than a book?" You know what I mean? And it gave me that like AI vibe, like it's just autocomplete. AI is just autocomplete. Why would you need this? And it's like, bro, you just don't get it. You just don't.
Yeah.
It has that vibes right now.
Did I tell you guys that there was a crypto kidnapping in Vegas like a week or two before the conference happened?
Oh, shit.
No.
Yeah, I had. So when NFTs were popping off, I was in the Las Vegas Weekly. It's like a popular thing. It's like the local guy who's doing crypto, kind of whatever. So they reached out to me again, and he moved over to the View Journal. He was asking me about it, and apparently this story is actually kind of crazy. So this guy, I guess, was at some sort of like crypto meetup in the city, and apparently there were high school kids there of some nature, and he ended up getting home, I guess, and 3 16-year-olds robbed this guy at gunpoint and took him out to the desert and basically said that they were going to kill him. And they asked for his tracer. I guess he was like probably talking about it at this meetup.
Right.
And they basically took him to his place. They got his treasure, robbed him of $4 million in ApeCoin, actually, believe it or not. It was ApeCoin. And
wait, can't they roll back that chain, man? They can roll back.
Nobody wants to steal the ApeCoin, right?
You can't sell that shit.
For $4 million ApeCoin, dude.
Like
yeah. So they asked me for a quote and to kind of explain it, and I shared like the one that happened in New York and the stuff that happened in France, and he actually had a list of like other ones. There was like 10 or 15 that happened across all across the world. And he's like, damn. Is the crypto community like afraid of this? Has it ever happened? I'm like, yeah, when that happens, I see it in the timeline. And this is probably why most people stay anonymous, honestly,
for sure.
Because of that exact reason.
One of the lame things is that like, criminals aren't always like, they use the technology at the forefront, but they don't always keep up with the times. Like a lot of the industry uses multi-sigs or custodial systems. Like I can't access all my crypto. How am I supposed to give it to you? I can't even rob myself if I wanted to. Like, what the hell do you mean? You know what I mean? So,
I mean, it's crazy that the dude has $4 million sitting in his house. Like, that's fucking nuts, man.
On a Trezor's, on a hardware wallet, right? Like
Crazy, dude.
But I guess you're just flaunting it. I thought it was just crazy. It was literally high school kids robbing this guy. Like to me,
So
I thought
I'm assuming they busted those guys then, huh?
Yeah. So they have 2 of them in custody, and apparently one of them fled the country as a 16-year-old.
my gut would just say that that's like a crime ring, and someone influenced them to do it so that they could get charged as minors or whatever.
Actually, so I'll post the article later today because he just sent it to me this morning.
Yep.
Apparently when they were robbing him, the 2 kids were on a phone with somebody else, and they were being like directed on what to do.
Kids don't know how to do. Kids don't know what Bitcoin. Like if anyone doesn't know what Bitcoin is, it's like kids. You know, they don't have an idea.
So people just got to be careful, man. You gotta definitely never share your net worth when you're out in public somewhere, because literally there's some larger entity. Obviously, they had like the 3 kind of back-to-back kidnappings that happened in France, where a guy got his finger cut off, and they tried to kidnap I think it was the Ledger's founder's wife or something like that, like a week or 2 ago. So yeah, you got to be careful. But it was crazy that happened in Vegas. It was like literally like the week before the conference happened.
Wow.
So they're keeping that under wraps until after the conference was over to post about it.
Makes me glad I'm poor. Dude, it's crazy.
You can still get robbed, Adam. Just because,
bro, dude, it's like, even if you had, dude, you'd keep it on. It's just insane, bro. It's insane, bro. I don't understand it, man.
Multi-sigs or brain wallet, I guess.
Man, crazy, but good conference. We
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin made it. I don't know about the rest of the industry. No one seems to but, Bitcoin made it.
I'm excited, man. You know, I think for me and Chris, who've been in the industry since 2016, I remember running around Omnia nightclub, telling all my managers to accept Bitcoin for table service. They all thought I was a fucking crazy guy. Now it's there. And there was a bunch of parties at Omnia, and a bunch of my friends said they made a bunch of money over the weekend. So it seems like the Bitcoin community was taken well. It's here. There's still a long way to go. I wonder if any Bitcoiners made it out to Crazy Horse 3. I think it's the only strip club that accepts Bitcoin in Vegas. So I guarantee you probably none of them actually did.
One more thing. So everyone trades meme coins. Everyone trades altcoins. No one in this industry really ever owned Bitcoin as far as like the large majority of the timeline. But the only thing that would ever ruin all of the altcoin rallies was Bitcoin destabilizing the industry, because nobody was ever buying it. And then now finally Bitcoin is completely stable and nobody's buying altcoins. How does that make sense in any world?
I think it makes sense because the people buying Bitcoin aren't actually buying Bitcoin. I think this is this ETF.
Yeah,
cycle.
but where'd all the people that loved altcoins for the last decade go?
No, but it's different. If you hold your Bitcoin, and for example, last cycle, if you bought Bitcoin, right, and Bitcoin went up, so it went from whatever 15K to 50K, you felt rich, right? So you sold it, but you sold it as crypto, right?
Yeah.
And so you got that other crypto that you then would roll into NFTs or roll into something else, but you were on chain. Like, I just think this is the off chain cycle, man, where this money is flowing in a different way, and people don't actually own. I've had 0 conversations about people setting up wallets to buy stuff. While last cycle I had dozens and dozens of combos, for people actually buying crypto. It's just this is the non-crypto cycle, man.
Yeah, I was even talking with a few devs from the Ordinals community, and they said that they were buying literally treasury companies. So I was like, they're like, we're not even participating in on-chain anymore.
Yeah.
Just following the bubble.
So even though they're have made money, it's not rolling into alts like it would in the past because there's nothing happening on chain. It's just different. It's time.
Well, we need more altcoin conferences. We need Ethereum Vegas coming up. Someone needs to bump this.
Ethereum Vegas.
Ethereum Vegas, bro.
We need consensus down here immediately, boys.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, obviously we think AI is like the next kind of cycle. It had a nice little kind of run here for a little bit and then just went right back down, but still kind of up. I think our thesis was right from a year and a half ago that the cycle is going to extend into 2026, like middle of 2026 before anything ever happens. So
definitely AI super cycle, man. That's where I'm at.
The intelligence cycle. That's what we're moving from. The attention cycle to the intelligence cycle. Maybe Laudio was the top of the attention cycle. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. You'll still get Fartcoin and some of these other ones that'll continue to do well, just because they're kind of the leader. But there's a lot of good AI projects that we talk about consistently on our AI show. And I think the intelligence is going to kind of continue forward in all of these different types
Even
of
just
unique
judging
ways.
off of like our conversations, like everyone that we talk to, granted that a lot of them know us, they all wanted to know about our AI product or get involved or integrate into our AI platform somehow. And there was no AI representation at all at the conference. I mean, we might have been like the only AI company there that was capable of doing any of this shit.
Totally, bro.
So, I mean, that's like just like another signal that not only were we early in this and the platform is pretty performant, but there's a lot of appetite for it and not a lot of builders building in that direction. So just as an antidote, I think that's pretty correct.
Yes, sir. That's what we're going to continue to build. So we'll be back here on Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Adam, I think we haven't done a live stream in a little while. Should we do one maybe tomorrow or Thursday? Yep. Bring out Hustle. He's got a bunch of new tools since we've done a live stream, right? We did the Launch Labs integration, Orca web browsing. Now I can get my Broncos updates through him, which is kind of fun. All kinds of other things of that nature. Working on auto trading. And
built like the web interface. I mean, just all sorts of shit, man.
Oh, that's the thing I posted yesterday. Yeah. So a builder is basically building kind of like the hand-on thing using Hustle. So we don't even have to do it. Shout out to Digital Drip, I think his name is .crypto. He's basically doing a web extension overlay to where you can, it says ask Hustle for literally any web page. And then I guess he's putting buy buttons on all of the tokens as well as some other things. So I think he's calling it Agent Hustle Pro, but you can really call it whatever he wants, to be honest. Yeah. that's the whole point. But until then, yeah, we'll be back in 2 days, and then we're going to do a live stream at some point as we get back on track with the rest of the week. I hope everyone had fun. Everyone that was out in Vegas that saw us, appreciate you. And everyone that's supporting us, Emblem and Agent Hustle, make sure you follow them on stage, and we'll see you guys in a few days. Have a good one.
Later.